Greetings, Sleepy Bean Peace 10K here, back with another video. I know it's been some time, but I'm back, and you have read the title. So, for us to know how strong is Mihawk exactly and why he is so strong, we'll have to go real in depth and analyze everything of him. Everything. Now, let's get into it. So, Dracula Hawkeye's Mihawks is standing as the world's strongest swordsman, is one of the most consistently reinforced facts in One Piece. Now, the title is directly attributed by the narrator, the author, Uichiro Oda's official statements and character dialogues, and that places him at the undisputed apex of swordsmanship, past, present, and implicitly for a significant portion of the future. Now, Mihawk's supremacy among the swordsmen is one, as everyone knows, is his title, the world's strongest swordsman title. Now, the world's strongest swordsman title in Japanese, Sekai Saikyo no Kenshi, is not a self-proclaimed title, nor is it merely a rumor. It's a definitive statement from the omniscient narrator, the author of One Piece itself, similar to Whitebeard being the world's strongest man, Sekai Saikyo no Toko. This implies an absolute factual superiority within their respective categories compared to someone who has a title, and that is Kaido. But there's context behind his title. His title is said to be. The narrator even stated himself that the people say and he is said to be the world's strongest creature, while we literally see that is indeed true, that he is said to be the world's strongest creature because after Wano we see others not power cliffing him, but for example in Egghead we see Topman War Curry having better durability than Kaido. While not durability in general, it's mainly his body being coated in haki, so it's his armament haki, which still counts as durability with him being coated in it. And we see that Luffy, even in base and even in Gear 5, stronger than the version of Wano, could not even damage Saturn himself, and Luffy damaged himself twice. Now, the title of Whitebeard is for his durability, as nothing could kill him. It's not said that no one could kill him, but just nothing can kill him. Based of his durability, no matter how many times he was stabbed, shot, executed, or anything, he would not die. He jumped off Skypiea, and he didn't die at all. No one knows why he didn't jump into the sea or put himself in sea stone cuffs and killed himself, but aside from that, his title is said to be, and not. It is indeed his title, but it's not a factual title. Compared to Whitebeard and Mihawk, Whitebeard is indeed the world's strongest man at that time, the world's strongest pirate, and Mihawk is indeed the world's strongest swordsman, the world's greatest swordsman, the world's most powerful swordsman. Now, while some debate whether strongest swordsman refers only to skill or overall power, the general understanding in One Piece power scaling is that strongest titles like Whitebeard's denote overall combat capability within their defined domain. For example, Whitebeard didn't only achieve his title because he has a power to destroy the world, aka his devil fruit. He achieved that title based of his accomplishments, based of his insane, monstrous physical strength, his haki, and his devil fruit. And then we see that in Marineford, his haki is not non-existent while he was using haki in Marineford. It wasn't as if he would in his prime. Same with his physical strength, as we can see that he could barely use haki. He was mostly using armament alone, sometimes observation of course, but it's implied that he wasn't and couldn't even use Conqueror's haki at all, not even the basic form. Well, we also see that his strength, his physical strength, has been surpassed by many others, and for example, Akainu in in Marineford, Whitebeard was sick. He was sick and old, and we see that his strength didn't matter anymore, as we can see that Akainu could easily overpower him with his hands in his pockets in a physical strength clash. So, no haki, no strength. Why did he keep the title? Because Oda even still considered him being the strongest man in the world. Even Sengoku said that the most dangerous man in the world is here, and he has the power to destroy the world. Now there's context behind that, with power meaning his devil fruit. So he was still the strongest man in the world, considered because of his devil fruit. Now, it means Mihawk is the strongest fighter who uses a sword as his primary means of combat. If strongest simply meant most skilled, it would diminish the significance of these titles within the power hierarchy, because then for Whitebeard it would just be him having better combat. For example, that doesn't matter if he had his devil fruit or not, the title would still be given to him, and that really wouldn't make sense because he achieved that title because his devil fruit was included. It's part of his character. He achieved the title because of the devil fruit, his strength, his haki, his accomplishments. And the same counts for Whitebeard, as I just said, Mihawk, and also Kaido. Kaido has that title set to B because of his durability. Mihawk has that title because he is indeed the world's strongest man with a sword, the world's strongest swordsman. Whitebeard has that title because he has his haki, his insane martial strength, though it is irrelevant right now because it has already been surpassed, yet he was still considered that in Marineford because of his devil fruit. So, if strongest simply meant most skilled, for example, for Mihawk, it would just diminish the significance of these titles within the power hierarchy. Now, Zoro's ambition to surpass Mihawk is rooted in becoming the strongest swordsman. Zoro's entire journey is about acquiring the power to defeat Mihawk, not just outskill him in a technical display. This narrative framework confirms the title encompasses overall combat prowess. Now, Whitebeard explicitly states that the duels between Shanks and Mihawk, I quote, shook the entire Grand Line. This establishes the pairs as equals in battle. Yet later on, we see who the victor was and is, and still is. Now, Mihawk explicitly stopped seeking duels with Shanks after Shanks lost an arm, stating that he had no interest in fighting a, I quote, a one-armed man. This isn't a sign of weakness on Mihawk's part, but rather a confirmation that he found Shanks no longer capable of providing a challenge as a swordsman that matched their previous engagements. Now, in the Weaver Card manga chapter 1058, Oda's indirect statements, Mihawk's Weaver Card states that he is, I quote, waiting for a swordsman to even surpass his rival Shanks, end quote. This directly implies Mihawk still considers himself above Mihawk of Shanks in swordsmanship, and he seeks a challenger who exceeds what Shanks had offered to Mihawk. In chapter 1058, when discussing Mihawk's bounty and the Cross Guild, it's explicitly stated that Mihawk, I quote, even greater skill than Red Hair Emperor, quote. This is a crucial line directly confirming Mihawk's swordsmanship is not only based on skill, but of him being the strongest swordsman above Shanks, showing superiority over Shanks. Note that what is also said to characters is Oda basically saying it to characters, just like for what I said earlier by Kaido, is Oda is saying that the people say that it is said to be, while for Whitebeard is titled in Mihawk, it's him literally saying that they are the strongest man, they are the strongest swordsman. With they, I mean individually, Whitebeard and Mihawk. Now, the definition of a swordsman is the debate often arises regarding whether Shanks is truly a, I quote, swordsman. However, Shanks primarily uses a sword in combat, as his haki is channeled through it. The narrative portrays him as clashing swords with powerful figures. If Shanks, or Yonko, is not considered a swordsman, the definition becomes overly restrictive and undermines Mihawk's title also. The prevailing understanding is that if you use a sword as your primary weapon and means of fighting, you are a swordsman in One Piece. And not even in One Piece, it's just overall. Also in your life. Now, in comparison to other swordsmen, past and current, is that there are some names, and that is Roger and Ryuma. While figures like Goldie Roger, who wielded Ace, a sword, and Ryuma, who created a black blade, Shizui, were legendary swordsmen. Mihawk's title is current and absolute. It implies he stands above all, I quote, all who came before him in terms of swordsmanship, including Roger. If there was a stronger swordsman currently alive, or if one in the past was definitely stronger, Mihawk's title would be invalidated. Then Oda would kind of be lying to us. Then basically the show One Piece is all a lie. It's also been shown that Oda made a drawing of a swordsman before some other characters were introduced as swordsmen, and we see that Roger is indeed in it. As I said earlier, Mihawk is above all the swordsman, stated by Oda himself. He is the strongest swordsman, meaning also he is above Roger, as we can see that he is also included in it. And Zoro will surpass Mihawk, and for him to do that, that also means that he is stronger than Roger. Now, there's another name, and that is Fujitora and Kizaru. Fujitora is a highly skilled swordsman who also uses a devil fruit. Kizaru can form light swords, however, Mihawk's title applies to all swordsmen, regardless of their other powers. This means Mihawk as a swordsman is superior to them, as we can see that Fujitora is indeed confirmed to be a swordsman, and his blade also is confirmed to be a supreme great blade, which shows his sword skill and his swordsmanship of him being a swordsman. And same for Kizaru, while he doesn't always use his blade in combat, but he uses a sword. So, yes. Now, Zoro's goal, his entire character arc revolves around surpassing Mihawk. This ensures that by the end of the series, Zoro will become the strongest swordsman, directly replacing Mihawk. This narrative structure necessitates Mihawk holding the top spot until Zoro reaches that level, as it is said that Mihawk lies at the top of all swordsmen. Now, Mihawk operates with a large crew, or territory, yet his bounty of 3.59 billion berries places him firmly in the Yonko tier, as he has the Young. He would have had the Yonko title, but he prefers to live a quieter life. He already reached his goal, so yeah, he just let Buggy have it. This indicates his immense individual power. He doesn't need the support system of a Yonko crew, as I just stated that he achieved his dream. He achieved the title. He achieved what Zoro is trying to achieve without a crew in a time worse than now, or you could say now it's worse in the past. However you take it, his strength lies within himself, Mihawk. Now, his casual slicing of an iceberg at Marine Fort, which counts as a feat, and his effortlessly destruction of Longstreet's fleet illustrate his overwhelming destructive capacity as a swordsman, where he, without even trying, effortlessly with ease, sliced one part of a frozen tsunami, and also destroyed Longstreet's fleet with one slash. Mihawk's constant state of boredom from lack of worthy opponents underscored his unmatched strength, including Shanks. He is bored, even though Shanks exists. He accepted the warlord position largely to avoid constant pursuit and only engages with when genuinely interested. And he was interested in Zoro's potential at the beginning of the series, or to, I quote, test the waters, quote, against Whitebeard. Now, it's crucial to differentiate that the world's strongest swordsman from the world's strongest being slash fighter. While Mihawk is the peak of swordsmanship, One Piece features characters whose power may derive from other sources. Extremely potent devil fruits, for example, exceptionally rare haki forms, or unique biological compositions. That might place them above Mihawk in overall fight, even if they aren't swordsmen. For example, Joy Boy, he wasn't shown to have a sword. Based on factual information, strong implications, and narrative trajectory, the following characters are generally considered to be or are just destined to be above Mihawk in terms of overall power, not necessarily swordsmanship. As I mentioned, Emu, the mysterious sovereign of the world government, their power is unknown, but their position at the top of the world implies an unimaginable level of strength, likely making them the final antagonist. Emu. It's a damn he or she, I don't know. Now Joy Boy is from the past also is a legendary figure from the Void Century. While his fighting style isn't fully known, his historical significance and connection to the ancient weapons suggest a power level that could dwarf even the strongest contemporary figures. Now you have end of series, Monkey D. Luffy as the protagonist as and an inspiring pirate king. Luffy is destined to become the strongest character in the series. His Gear 5 awakened Devil Fruit and his mastery of all Haki types will put him at the apex. End of series Blackbeard must also teach as Luffy's destined final rival for the title of Pirate King, excluding end of series Kobe. Blackbeard's two Devil Fruits, the Yami Yami Nomi and the Gura Gura Nomi, and his cunning will inevitably lead him to power level comparable to or exceeding the current Yonko even. Yes, indeed, exceeding them. End of series Akainu Sakazuki, the fleet admiral of the Marines, his absolute justice and the start of Mago Mago no Mi, the Magma Fruit, making a top tier combatant as the final major antagonist for the Marines. He is expected to reach an even higher level of power, even though he is already stated to be the strongest right now currently in the series, as by Oda. Oda said that if Akainu was the main character, if Akainu was in Luffy's place, the series would come to an end in real life time in a year. Akainu would finish the series in one arc, meaning that in Luffy's position, he completely beats Luffy's former past opponents, current opponents, and future opponents in one arc. That is how strong Akainu is. It might be unbelievable, but it's Oda, so do not crash out against me. There are also some more statements of him being the strongest marine, which puts him above Prime Garb, which indirectly puts him above Roger, Whitebeard, Shiki, and those others that were comparable relative to Garb or slightly above Garb. And end of series Akainu and even current Akainu, who's already being stated to be top 1 to finish the series in one arc, he is Luffy's faithful enemy, just like how Blackbeard is Shank's faithful enemy of his squad, just like how Akainu will be also and is the faithful enemy of Luffy of him having the squad. Now, those are the only characters with only three more, and that is end of series Kobe, end of series Kid, and end of series Law. While Kobe, Kid, and Law are incredibly strong and will continue to grow significantly, right now they're not at the point of being a Yonko. They are at the point of being a Yonko candidate, Kid and Law, even said by Big Mom, if you can beat me, see if you can take my throne. Now they didn't really beat her, but they did prove their point. They did prove her point of her saying that take my throne. So yeah, they beat her. And they are being considered being like a fifth Yonko, for example, like how Luffy it was. For example, also Sabo is also being considered a Yonko. But but yes, end of series Kobe, however, it would also be like Roger and Garp, and at the same time Luffy and Kobe. Then you also have end of series Kid, who is also being shown like Roger and Whitebeard. It would also be Luffy and end of series Kid. Then you also have end of series Law, which would be, Roger Whitebeard, and then you have someone that kind of shows distinct similarities to Law, and that is Shiki. Now, it might be hard to believe, but that is called portrayal. In summary, Mihawk's destination as this strongest swordsman, or strongest swordsman, is ironclad a fact in One Piece. Consistently supported by Oda's narrative choices, character dialogue, and direct statements, SBS, Weaver cards, this means he is the supreme master of the blade, surpassing all past, present, and likely most future swordsmen except end of series Zoro. If Zoro has a rival, for example Killer, then you might include him being equal to end of series Zoro. LOL. Only characters operating on a fundamentally different or higher tier of power, like the ultimate antagonist or the future Pirate King, are expected to stand above him in overall combat ability. Now we have gone real in depth about Mihawk. There are some more statements, there are some more info of Mihawk that have been recently been posted and said by Oda. And this is one of them, where Oda says that Mihawk gazes, I quote, Mihawk gazes sharply beyond the realm of the strongest towards a force that transcends strength itself. Again, Oda talks about Mihawk, his gaze being sharply beyond the realm of the strongest, implying how strong his observation haki is, and at the same time also his conqueror's haki. Now, why would I say that he has conqueror's haki? Well, it takes someone with kingly ambition to achieve that title, and look at Zoro, conquerors, makes sense for Mihawk, and look at the other top tiers like Whitebeard, Garp, Roger, Rux, Sengoku, all have simple things, some have harder things, but all have kingly ambitions, and it has been said by Rayleigh that those that made a name for themselves have that type of ability, Conqueror's Haki, and I quote again, toward a force that transcends strength itself. Now, it's not crazy to say right now that Mihawk has, for example, compared to Whitebeard, or let's just say compared to Roger or Swordsman, Mihawk has superior strength to him. This has been recently posted, and there's also something that I have not said yet, and that is Mihawk's original epithet. While his epithet is Hawkeye, based on the animal weapon sense, his original epithet is clairvoyant, which shows his observation haki. His observation haki is so strong that he can hear a conversation from his island, from the reverie. And his observation haki also is so strong that Shanks, whose Conqueror's haki is being compared to Joy Boy, had to develop an ability with his Conqueror's haki to cancel out Mihawk's observation. Since he was fighting Mihawk the most for 22 years, their duels have been considered legendary duels and the most legendary rivals. Same for his armament, which Oda said that in the category of haki, Zoro takes armament, which kind of puts him to a parallel of Mihawk, which shows some small detail maybe of Mihawk having a black blade. Now, having a black blade doesn't automatically mean that your armament haki is above like that of what Roger, since we know that Roger is indeed stronger than Ryuma, but Ryuma has a black blade. We see that you creating a black blade is just basically the blade being yours, fully yours, just you imbuing your haki with it, as we can see with Odin. But even though it's not a black blade, his presence was still in the sword, so you can say it was in the process of being a black blade. Even Kaido said it that why is Odin's presence still in that sword, even though it's in Zoro's hand? For example, Shijui, it was never going to be Zoro's because it's Shijui's sword, as we can see that. Just like how your mind becomes one with your devil fruit, and you awaken it, it's same with your weapon, as Mihawk said that everything can be turned into a black blade. So you could say a gun, you can turn it into a black gun, and the gun is just fully yours. Your will is just fully imbued with that weapon, so it's just fully yours. So anyone who takes it will never be able to master it. As we can see that Mihawk has mastered the strongest blade in the world, Yoru. He has indeed mastered it, which is a Supreme Blade grade. And we see that Elma isn't even a great blade or a Supreme Blade blade. Yet look at what kind of struggles it's giving to Zoro. And Mihawk without a crew was able to master the strongest blade in the world, even before the Great Pirate era started, which shows his mastery of armament haki. As we can see, Oda said that if in haki category, Luffy takes Conquerors, Sanji takes Observation, and Zoro takes Armament. Now, why would it make sense for Mihawk to have Conquerors? There's more info. Is that if he were not to have Conquerors, then you would kind of say that Shanks is, yeah, what people say, a fraud. Because then he not even did he cancel out Mihawk's observation haki. Mihawk doesn't even have Conquerors, so he's just fighting with just pure armament alone against basically a haki master, aka Shanks. And that doesn't make sense at all. Not at all. I know. So, what have we to conclude? Just think. I will give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Time's up. Yes, indeed. How strong is Mihawk? Mihawk is indeed so strong that the only characters that will be above him, that are above him, are Emu, Joy Boy, End of Series Luffy, End of Series Blackbeard, End of Series Kobe, End of Series Kid, and End of Series Law. If you would say that Zoro would have an equal rival, then you could maybe include Killer in it, or Helmeppo, LOL, but let's exclude them for now. Mihawk is indeed what Oda said. He is beyond the strongest of the strongest. Is the title factual? He is indeed the strongest swordsman, past, current, and future, until end of series Zoro comes. That was it for y'all. Thank y'all for watching. I hope that y'all now understand how strong Mihawk is, why he's that strong, who is he above, who is he not above, why also, and everything you have to know that I've explained until recently. Know that the recent chapter is 1155, and something that you'll have to know is that yes, Rox is considered a swordsman, and I'm not gonna go real in depth in that because I've already concluded on why he's above everyone else with a sword until end of series Zoro comes. As for example, Blackbeard would indeed be stronger than his father, Rox. Thank you for watching. Mihawk is indeed the world's strongest swordsman until end of series swordsman. Roanoke Zoro. Mihawk is above all with a sword. Current, past, and future. Peace out. Yo, I also forgot something else to say to y'all is that Zoro already has stated that he wants to become the world's strongest swordsman, that his name will be known in the heavens, meaning he only has to achieve that when he beats Mihawk, which shows how strong Mihawk actually also is. And Zoro also stated that he will be the strongest swordsman ever. With ever, that means like ever. And does he needs to beat? And that is Mihawk indeed. So Mihawk is indeed the world's strongest swordsman ever until end of series Zoro. Meaning above all swordsmen ever. Peace out.